Hello and welcome to CIO Leadership Live Australia. I'm Kathy O'Sullivan, Editor-in-Chief for CIO in APAC. My guest today is Michael Fagan, Chief Transformation Officer at Village Roadshow. Michael has held a number of senior IT leadership roles for some well-known brands here in Australia, as well as overseas in Europe, USA, and Asia. Welcome, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, Kathy. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, more than welcome, and great to chat to another Irish person all the way down here on the other side of the world. So firstly, can you give us an overview of your role at Village Roadshow and what your team looks after?
Yeah, certainly. So, unfortunately, maybe a little bit about Village Roadshow. I was surprised at how much and how big the scope of our company's operations are. So, we own and operate cinemas in Victoria in Australia. And Tasmania, and together with our partners Event, we are the largest cinema exhibitor in the country. We also own and operate theme parks on the Gold Coast, so Warner Brothers Movie World, SeaWorld, Wet n Wild, amongst others. We also have a hotel at SeaWorld Resort. We have 150 rides, slides and attractions, so probably the biggest and best theme parks in Australia as well. And we also own a movie distribution business. So the new Hunger Games movie is coming out, distributed by us. If you saw The Matrix, you'll have seen Village Roadshow pictures. So quite a wide and very movie focused business. So movies are in our DNA. It's a very innovative company. So the concept of Gold Class was actually invented by Village back in 1997. It's since been copied by pretty much every major cinema exhibitor in the world. And my role at Village is I actually lead several functions within the company, and I also provide a lot of support and it's intellectual horsepower and arms and legs on the ground for the other leaders within the company to get things done.
So quite a diverse range of stakeholders, I'm sure, and quite a diverse range of products that Village has there. So I'm sure it keeps you very busy. But look, you've worked in a number of geographies around the world, a number of industries. Can you tell us a little bit about your approach to transformation and how it has taken shape in your career?
So I think with transformation, it's really about large pieces of change. And so I think it's something that is different to continuous improvement, where you're trying to get those 1%ers every day, whereas transformation is really about big breakthroughs. And those breakthroughs, and today's breakthrough becomes tomorrow's standard. So what we do now is we try and figure out a massive chunky problem that then can become a day-to-day business as usual operation. It's something that I think is how I would approach transformation. Transformation is really something that it's big and meaty, and I think there's a shelf life to it as well, which is different to that continuous operation. And I think it's also one of those things that has plenty of negative connotations about it as well. And there's positive and negative, and it can be negative in many different ways. So first of all, change is hard. So even good change, so that can be tough for lots of people. There are plenty of people within organizations who are agitating for change and agitating for significant transformation. And if you appoint a chief transformation officer and that change doesn't happen, then you risk alienating the people that do want to change as well as the people that don't want to change. So it's one of those things that is it can be a tough role. It can be a lonely role. There's not many chief transformation officers as well. I think you'd ask what's the number one characteristic of of this type of CTO role. It's resilience. You need to be able to be resilient to push through roadblocks, to go around. A roadblock isn't really a roadblock. It's how do you get around, under, over, or through that roadblock. And that's something that I think is can be difficult within organizations. Which I think is very different to that continuous improvement role.
Yeah, no, definitely. And definitely the view of a lot of CIOs I speak to, that there is a big difference between a transformation program and a continuous improvement program. So then bringing it back to Village Roadshow, what does transformation mean for your organization, and how is your digitization program tracking?
Yeah, and I think with Village, we came under a private equity ownership, and I came in around about that same time. I'm an employee of Village, but we had not just the need to transform, or actually a boarding platform to transform. We had new owners who wanted things to run a certain way. We wanted to report on things a certain way, and they had a very short horizon for seeing significant change. So we pretty much took the P&L and went from top to bottom in terms of large size, and we looked at every single piece of the business. Yeah, so I mean, we've had significant personnel change. We are a much smaller, leaner organization. We're about, from a head office or central office point of view, we're about half the size of what we were 3 years ago. We've completely changed our partnership structure, so we have about 40% less partners that we work with, so we're much more meaningful to them and they're more meaningful to us. That has flow-on impacts into the value that we can extract from those partnerships and what it costs us to extract that value. And I think probably the biggest thing is around speed. So it's perfect is the enemy of done, I think, in this role. And now we are light on business cases and big on getting things done. So we make significant change in short periods of time, and if things don't work, where that notion of one-way doors and two-way doors. So if something is a one-way door, and you got to make sure you take your time to go through that. So a decision like that might be who's your network and telco provider. That's a significant effort to change that. So that is something we take a lot of time around. But if something is a two-way door, so if that decision can be reversed really quickly, we will go and we will trial that. So we've trialed different operating models in cinemas. We tried different rostering solutions in theme parks and in cinemas. We've tried different ways of how we interact with our providers. We tried different menus in cinemas. Very quick changes that we can make without having to go through massive business cases and just seeing what works. I mean, there's a lot of educated guesswork, but we're actually seeing how do customers respond to some of the changes that we make. So that notion of speed is very important in a transformation role.
So you mentioned earlier, transformation is hard. You've got people agitating for change at one end and other people who are a bit resistant to it. What are some of those, how do you overcome some of those big challenges, whether it be culture, legacy, communication? What are some of those roadblocks that you've encountered in your previous experience of transformation? And do you have strategies for tackling them?
Yeah, I think it depends on the organization as to what the major barriers are. And I think you have to have different strategies then for either those companies or for the types of resistance that you come up against. I think the biggest thing is actually delivering. So when you start to deliver, then you get a reputation for delivering, and you can kind of get a bit more trust. And particularly if it's done quickly, then it becomes like ripping the Band-Aid off very quickly. And it's a little bit less scary. So trying to get people to believe in a change and deliver on that change very quickly, I think, is the biggest. That's the biggest tool that you have in your arsenal or in your toolkit. So it builds up, because a couple of things. One, it builds up goodwill with the owners of the company. It builds up trust with the leadership team that things can and will change, and it gives an example or a new paradigm for the people in the organization. Yeah. So, I think it was a Buckminster Fuller said, don't try and kill the dinosaur, try and create the gazelle. We're really talking about don't try and change the old way of doing it, but actually just create a new way of doing it. Give people the example that they can follow. And when they do that, then they will willingly follow, and you're not trying to change the old or take something away to say, actually, here's something new that you want people to willingly embrace. So I think the biggest thing is around speed. The second thing would be around transparency and communication, where possible, and bringing that the rest of the leadership team along for that journey. Because in many ways, I'm not transforming somebody that I own or a function that is within my responsibility. It's actually somebody else's. So working with those functional leaders and the rest of the executive and the board and say, is this something that we want to do? If it is, then let's go after it. and let's do it in a significant way. But if it's not something you want, then let's not do that. So there's been plenty of times where I've looked at something and I think it's a good idea, and I do my best to persuade an operational leader or a member of the board or a C-suite executive, and I say, I just don't think there's something in that, and I say, okay, that's fine. Let's leave that. Let's park that. Maybe we'll come back to that later, but let's look after something else, because like I said, I think I keep coming back to, in this role, you've got to be delivering. You've got to be delivering value, and you've got to be delivering value very quickly. And if you're sitting around debating whether there's actually value to be had, or you can actually extract that value, then that's not a good place to be, and you need to be on that delivery mode.
Absolutely, and the buy-in as well, as you say, from the exec or the board, that they really want you to do it. And so at the CIO Summit in New Zealand earlier this year, you spoke about why CIOs should simplify and kill their darlings, essentially. Can you elaborate, I guess, on why you think this is important and how CIOs should set about doing this?
Yeah, well, first, the concept of kill your darlings is really that it's about saying no to good ideas so that you can say yes to great ideas. There's a near infinite amount of work to be done in any organization. If you look at the big long list of things that could be done, it's very, very long, and it's going to be a bigger list than your resources can deliver on. So you need to be able to say no to certain things. So really, that's the concept behind it. I'm going to say no to these few unimportant things because I'm going to do the smaller number of really important things. And if you think about even within organizations, it's that Pareto rule. Is as true in large organizations as well as in small organizations. There's a small number of things that we do to deliver an outsized benefit. So we need to make sure that we know what those things are. We're doing them, and we're doing them very well. And I think what gets in the way a lot of the times is that it's all the noise around the outside that prevents us from focusing on and delivering those really, really important things, for our customers. And so, I mean, I can think of plenty of examples like this, but I've in every IT team I've worked in the last 10 years, when I walk in, I say, well, what are we working on? And I've helped and coached many different businesses. In nearly every business, there's more projects than there are people in IT. So you have 1.x projects per person. It's just not possible to deliver on all that stuff. And if you ask the team to deliver it, they will do their best. IT people they've got a great service focus. They will try and deliver everything, but that's a bad place to be in when you you only want a small number of. If you're an executive or a senior stakeholder, there's a small number of things you actually want to get done. So being clear for our teams that this is the stuff that we want to do because it's going to have an outsized impact for our customers and then a flow-on impact for ourselves internally. Being crystal clear on what those things are is very, very important.
So then, in your role as Chief Transformation Officer, how do you collaborate and influence, the rest of the C-suite and, even as far as the board? How do you influence in that role?
Well, but just if I can just follow on that last question, I think the first thing is actually it will be. It's certainly about involving those people in the decision-making process. So it's gathering that list of work, saying, here's all the things that we have to do. Can we assigning a value to each piece of work? And can a value be assigned with? Is there a senior stakeholder that owns each piece of work and says, yes, I want this to happen because I can see the hard benefits as well as the soft benefits. And so I think really involving the leadership team in those decisions and then providing them with the expertise or the arms and legs to get the work done. I think that's why I think in most organizations, I think that the leadership team, they have all the answers, but they don't have the questions. So they're looking for someone to help them provide the right questions and then help them deliver on that. I think, strategy is cheap, but execution is expensive and difficult to do. And that's where my role comes in. Now, because I'm most comfortable playing in the supply chain role, reviewing payroll in cinemas, looking at the menus that we have in our theme parks. I'm equally as comfortable playing in all of those spaces, or looking at network transformations or cybersecurity, and it's something that can help provide a bit of value add in each one of those areas.
Fascinating. I'm still so impressed by just the absolute the number of things that you look after there. It's quite impressive. So, Michael, the technology was brought into sharp focus for a lot of organizations during the pandemic, and a lot of pressure being put on IT leaders and their teams. Do you think it's changed the role of a CIO, or is it essentially still the same?
I think it's changed. I think it's a more high profile role now, because I think you're either, many organizations struggle with the work from home, that even just getting the technology right. That was a bad time to be a CIO if you weren't prepared for that. Conversely, if it went seamlessly, then it was a good time to be a CIO. People shopping from home, again, digitally enabled, led by business teams, but actually enabled by the IT teams. I think that's become more into focus. And cybersecurity is another area now where I think typically falls under the remit of an IT team. And given what's happened with, particularly in Australia with Optus, Medicare, having a good security posture and being able to articulate that to the board and explain, and to people within organizations, I think it's a much more high profile role now than it was pre-pandemic, and I think more is expected of a CIO. So I don't know whether that's a change for the better or not, but certainly there's I think it's much less. I think it's a lot less cost focused and more around value added delivery.
So then when it comes to leadership of a CIO, what do you think makes some of the, key attributes of a successful modern day CIO, especially when it comes to that leadership piece?
I think for CIOs, they really need to have a good business focus. And I think there's if I look at the organizations I've worked in the past, you can see where, there are functions even within IT. There'll be a business analyst function or a business engagement function or a strategy and business improvement function within IT, and they're kind of the people that sit between pure business folks and pure IT folks and do that translation piece. You need to be good at that. You need to be as comfortable in the business sphere as you are in the IT sphere, and you're almost playing a translation role between the two worlds. And I know in my role as Chief Transformation Officer, I think it's a very privileged role, because I have all of IT reports to me, but I also have several business functions. But whenever somebody comes up and they say, like, well, I need an IT system to do this, I say, well, do you? Yeah? I think that's probably almost the first question is not about how do I have an IT solution for this, but actually how do I have the best solution for this? Very often, which is not IT, because if you want to roll out a new ERP, you talk about months worth of work, versus it might be a simple approach to how you do rostering, for example. So within our cinema division, we are looking at our labor and payroll models within cinema, and the previous leadership team said, well, when I have a new rostering system and I have a predictive model which tells me people, and I have these 5 other really complex technology pieces, then I'll be able to roster better. Now, my approach to that was actually to go out and speak with the team on the ground and look at how they were doing rostering, and then mapping our teams to our customer trading patterns. You don't need to have a machine learning AI model to tell you that people don't go to the cinema at 10 a.m. They're much more likely to go at dinner time or after work, which seems really obvious, but we weren't rostering that way, and we were rostering to a way we used to in the past. So a non-IT solution to something that is often perceived to be an IT problem, I think, is a good skill for a CIO to have. But certainly that business and customer focus is absolutely number one.
And of course, the other thing that sets a CIO up for success is having a good team and having a good team culture. So can you tell us a bit about, how you're creating an internal culture at Village to help people thrive and really feel like they're hitting those professional and personal goals?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. One is to encourage innovation. So, and by innovation, I mean, and what I really mean by that is doing things differently, doing different things and doing things differently. So I always encourage a team and ask them, what are you doing? How are you doing? Have they considered a different way of delivering this? The second is provided them with some of those tools or toolkits they can use to do that. So, for example, so this year we partnered with AWS. We developed a new Skills Guild model. We call it the Skills Guild Tournament, which AWS will look at taking that IP and rolling it out and giving it away to other customers, which is fine by us. I'm not in the business of selling software. I'm not in the business of selling skills guilds. AWS are. I'm happy for them to take that IP, but what I want to do is take that maximum amount of learning and pushing that through our team. So with our team, we sponsored cloud training, AI training, ML training. We made it opt in for the team, so they can choose whatever it is in their area, or whatever is in their area of work or area of interest. They can go and they can do as much learning as they want, and the company will pay for that. Yeah, so we sponsor that. So we've had a whole bunch of people become cloud certified. So a huge number of the team, I'd say we delivered, I think it's close to 5,000 hours now of training to our team this year. We sponsored, dozens, if not more, of certification attempts for our team, and we got a better result out of it. So our teams are happier. They feel like they're trained for the future. The skills we have today don't match the jobs of tomorrow, but now we've given them the skills for tomorrow, so they can help create what those jobs look like. And then the final piece is trying to have as much diversity in hiring as well. So getting people in from different industries. So we brought in some people from cinemas. We brought in some people from theme parks, or operators within the theme parks, to supplement the IT teams. We create and who have actually come from the business and joined IT. So again, they're providing that deep customer focus. So they're thinking customer first and technology second, and has flow-on impacts in the rest of our team. We have created cross-functional teams, which has resulted in a great variety of ideas that have come up. We, as part of that guild tour, we had a postcards approach. So or telegrams, we call them. So you had to write a telegram of what you wanted to do. The teams voted on the best ideas, and then we delivered them. And by having cross-functional ideas and getting people that didn't usually work with each other, we're growing great collaboration. 2, great cross-pollination of ideas. And 3, even outside of IT, work that was just smoother to get through the organization. Now it became the oil. Now the collaboration is the oil that gets things to happen. It's not the sand that gets caught up in the wheel, which is what a lot of people think of. It's a mistake, I think, that younger leaders make, and I would include myself in that you try and get people to talk to one another and consult with other people. You go, I don't want to talk to that guy, he's going to slow me down. But actually it's the grease of the wheels that helps it move through the organization. So I think there's lots of things that you can do, but I think if you can create that innovative culture, don't punish, which involves not punishing people for trying new things, and to a certain extent celebrating small failures. Yeah, can't be catastrophic failures, but small failures where somebody has gone and tried something. I mean, that's just as important as it is when everything's going right. I mean, if everything you do is going right, then you're probably not innovating or trying enough. Yeah, because some stuff should be failing, because you should be pushing the envelope.
Yeah. And look, speaking of failures and mistakes and things that haven't gone perfectly, is there anything when you reflect back on that was a really good lesson for you and really shaped you as a leader?
Yeah, I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that question. I think there's lots. Yeah, I think I think I probably didn't take feedback very well when I was younger. Whereas now I'm probably much more open to receiving feedback. I'm more open to actually going and seeking out feedback. But it took me a long time to figure that out. I think that's one thing. I think the second thing is I was probably getting in my own way, and I think and now once I realized that, and I said, oh, I'm kind of my own blocker. I think that's probably one of the biggest things I see with middle managers now or younger managers, that the biggest barrier to their success is themselves. They're kind of tripping themselves up. So actually getting out of your own way, whether that's through listening to feedback, through acting on the advice that you do get, through having good, strong mentoring relationships. When I was younger, it was a lot of my success was down to me personally doing stuff. So I look at a huge work effort, a huge work ethic. I put in lots of hours. If I wanted something done, I could get pretty much anything I could get done on my own. But if you want to be a leader and a leader of 1,000 people, you can't be the person who does all the work. You can't do the work of 1,000 people. So it's much being a person that does the work of 10 people, which is probably what I was, versus being someone who can lead 1,000 people to work very effectively. It's better to be the second type of person than the first type of person. And I don't think I really believed that when I was younger. So I'll say that's something that I've probably learned as I've gone through my career. The person who can get the best out of other people is going to be more valuable to the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there any other, advice you'd give to someone who is aspiring to be an IT leader? Is there any, good career advice that you received along the way?
I think I was very lucky to have had a great mentor early on, and I was just assigned a mentor. I never would have said I need a mentor. I think everybody should have a mentor or a coach. And since then, I've had some great mentors. I had like Liam McErlane, who is no longer with us, but he was the head of technology for Europe and Accenture. So again, a very senior guy. When I was CTO at Kmart, I had Mike McNamara, who was the CIO of Target USA, mentoring me. I think he had like 16,000 people reporting to him and a $100 billion company. So again, I had great people mentoring me. And then, even now in Australia, Alex Stokes from Reboot Co is an agile coach who gives me great advice now and then. So I think finding a mentor or finding several mentors, and sometimes you need a mentor for a short period of time, and then you need to move on and find the next one. But I think finding a mentor, and I think that's different to a role model. A mentor, so you can have those conversations with. You can ask, what am I doing wrong in this situation? What do you think I should do, or how would you approach this? And just somebody you can just bounce those ideas off. And it probably shouldn't be somebody in your chain of command. Your manager can't be your mentor. It needs to be somebody else. Another thing, and I said, a mentor would be different to a role model. Everybody should find role models and anti-role models. Think of the best leader you ever worked with. Think of the worst leader you ever worked with. What do they do? And then, make sure you do one set of things and make sure you don't do the other set of things. They're the kind of thing, but certainly having a mentor is something I think is important.
Yeah, no, definitely resonates quite a lot with me, what you said there around mentoring versus role models. So what's important to you, Michael, as we head into 2024, not long left in 2023, what are you looking at for next year?
I think Christmas is a very important time. Christmas and summer, and in the Southern Hemisphere is very important time for both cinemas and theme parks. So we'll slow down on the transformation effort and move more into an operational focus. So I won't ask for things that the frontline staff at cinemas or the staff in the hotel at SeaWorld or the people at Movie World. It's time to let them operate. This is where we have our it's peak time or super peak for theme parks, for people going to Wet n Wild or Movie World. It's a very busy time of year. So it's time to step back and let the operational teams do what they do best, and then ramp up those efforts again around about February after school holidays and kids are back at school. So I'm very conscious that we don't get in the way of the people that are making money. So if you're not serving a customer, then you're serving someone who is serving a customer. And sometimes the best way to help those people is just not get in their way.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you all the best with the rest of 2023 and 2024. Michael Fagan, Chief Transformation Officer at Village Roadshow, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.